House Bill 386, an act relating to water pollution control and declaring an emergency. Representative Freeland.
Gentleman from McCracken.
Mr. Speaker, I yield to the gentleman from Marshall 6 for explanation of the bill and motion thereon.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Marshall 6 for explanation of the bill and a motion thereon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, House Bill 386 is an important bill to the people of my district in western Kentucky and really all across this great state. The chemical manufacturing industry in Calvert City employs thousands of Kentuckians, from engineers, safety inspectors, highly skilled union laborers, and so many others. These are good-paying jobs, sought-after jobs, highly skilled union laborers, as we mentioned, all types of great employees. And these companies are an integral part of our community, and I'm sure yours as well, throughout our state. They're environmentally conscious, spend millions of dollars annually on technology, water and air testing, and have a proud and excellent record in regards to workforce operations and the environment. The Kentucky Chamber, who supports this bill, House Bill 386, mentions the fact that our chemical manufacturers across Kentucky employ more than 15,000 people, and last year, or 2019, exported over $743 million of product. House Bill 386 is needed and is the result of a regulatory change that took place in 2004 and went into effect in 2014 here in Kentucky. And the change imposed a ban on the use of mixing zones for existing dischargers of bioaccumulative chemicals. The problem is the technology to achieve these proposed levels currently does not exist. And HB 386 would require mixing zones for bioaccumulative chemicals of concern established and existing before 2004, and change in effects would be through the EPA and require that any change or extinguishment of these mixing zone assignments for the chemicals of concern would be accomplished through administrative regs. And I want to thank my friend and the gentleman from Hardin for being the primary sponsor of this bill, and if it's permissible, Mr. Speaker, I'd like for him to be able to better explain this measure.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Hardin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I honestly feel like you did a pretty good job at doing it, but maybe I can help you answer any questions, or if there are any. But basically what the bill does is a little bit about my background, probably why we did this together, is what I do for a living. Like the gentleman from Greenup, he teaches and does pharmacy. I happen to do industrial water control, and so I help factories put out water that meets what's called the MPDS permit, and their permitted levels. So this is actually right in my wheelhouse. This is what I do. I try to help factories make sure they're putting out environmentally friendly water. So what we're talking about here is a change in regulation that disallowed mixing zones. So what's a mixing zone? Let me just take a quick step back. Oftentimes people, when they hear the word chemical, they automatically think that's bad. Chemicals are bad. Well, chemicals aren't bad. Everything that we have is a chemical. Water is a combination of two hydrogens and an oxygen. It's H2O. That is officially a chemical. A chemical is a combination of things. The thing about chemicals is chemicals can be bad if they're at toxic levels. So for instance, if a doctor, and they're not bad if they're not at toxic levels. So for instance, if a doctor prescribes you, and the gentleman from Greenup fulfills a prescription for a antibiotic, if that doctor makes it too strong of a prescription, it can actually harm the patient. Conversely, if you make it a really weak prescription, it doesn't harm the patient. It doesn't help the patient because it doesn't kill the bacteria, right? So the thing about chemicals is you need to know, and every chemical is different, what is their toxicity levels. I apologize. He asked for an explanation. I'm getting to the question. So all this does is allows industries to make sure that when they are putting out their discharges, that it's in an area where it's mixed well, so that where you take samples, there isn't high concentrations that would be dangerous to the water fleas and all the other things that we test for to make sure our waters aren't toxic. So this is a great bill. It's good for our industry. It does not allow pollutants to go out. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with improved technology to help factories put out good water. So if there's any questions, I'd love for one of us to answer them.
Gentleman from Marshall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If there are any questions, we'll be glad to answer them. And if not, I ask for passage of House Bill 386.